Hey, great to have you here. Whether you're sending a quick text message or giving a huge presentation, every single time we communicate, we're following a kind of invisible blueprint. So today, we're going to pull that blueprint apart piece by piece and really figure out how we connect with each other.
Oh man, I think we've all been there, right? You say one thing, but the other person hears something totally different, and next thing you know, you're just lost. It's so frustrating. Well, it turns out that if you understand the actual mechanics of communication, you can get the tools you need to fix those moments and become a way more effective communicator.
So here's the game plan. We're going to start with the big picture, the whole blueprint. Then we'll break down every single stage, how a thought even becomes a message, the journey it takes, all the stuff that gets in the way, how it's actually understood, and finally, how we close that loop to make it a real conversation. All right, let's dive right in. If you really want to get how communication works and, where it all goes wrong, we've got to look at the entire system all at once. Think of this as the master schematic for pretty much every conversation you will ever have. And here it is, the whole shebang, the complete communication loop. It all kicks off with a sender who creates a message, sends it through a channel to a receiver, who then gives some feedback. Now, it looks simple, like just 4 steps, but trust me, each one of these stages is its own little world, just full of potential problems. Let's start at the very beginning. So everything starts with an idea, right? A thought, a feeling, some piece of information just floating around in your head. But how does that actually get out into the real world? Well, that's what this first stage is all about. First up, you've got the sender. This is you, it's me, it's anyone who has something they want to share. This is the source, the starting point for the entire thing. It's pretty simple, right? No sender, no message. Now this next part, encoding, is absolutely critical. See, an idea in your head is just an idea. To share it, you have to translate it or encode it into something someone else can actually understand. Are you going to say, "I'm a little concerned," or are you going to say, "This is a total disaster"? The words you choose, your tone of voice, even your body language, that's all encoding. It's that vital step of turning an inside thought into an outside message. Okay, so you've carefully encoded your thought into a message. The next big question is, how does that message actually get from you to the other person? This package of information is the message. This is the what of your communication. It could be the actual words in an email, the sound of your voice, or even an image you send. It's the real, tangible thing that you've created. And the channel is how that message travels. Is this a face-to-face conversation, a text, an email? Each one is a different channel. And this is so important because picking the wrong channel, like, breaking up with someone over a text message, can completely change how the exact same message is received. If only it were that easy. The journey a message takes is almost never a straight line. It's really more like an obstacle course, full of things that can twist and distort it along the way. We call all these obstacles barriers or noise. And noise isn't just, loud sounds. It's anything that gets in the way of the original meaning. Think of it like static on the line of your conversation. And there are a few different kinds of noise we're always dealing with. Physical noise is the obvious one, a bad cell signal, a super loud coffee shop. Then there's psychological noise. This is all the stuff happening inside your own head. Maybe you're stressed about a deadline, so you can't really focus on what your coworker is saying. That's noise. And finally, there's semantic noise. This is all about the words themselves. If a doctor uses a bunch of complex medical jargon, you get lost. That's semantic noise. Okay, so let's imagine the message has somehow made it through the obstacle course and arrived at its destination. The process is still only halfway done. Now, the spotlight shifts completely to the person on the other end. This brings us to the receiver. This is the person the message was for, and their job is not passive at all. They have to actively take in and try to make sense of everything that's just come their way. And to do that, the receiver has to decode the message. This is basically the mirror image of encoding. They take the words, the tone, all of it, and they have to translate it back into an idea inside their own mind. So here's the bottom line on this. Encoding is the sender's job. They're packaging up the meaning. Decoding is the receiver's job. They're trying to unpackage it. And you can probably guess, a whole lot can get lost in translation if those two processes don't line up just right. We've almost made it all the way around the circuit. But see, communication isn't just about making a delivery, it's an exchange. To make it a real conversation, the message has to make a return trip. This is where we finally close the loop. The first part of that return trip is feedback. This can be super subtle. A simple nod, a quick smile, maybe a confused look, or even just an uh-huh. This feedback is the instant signal that tells the original sender, hey, did my message land? And how did it land? And that feedback often builds into a full-on response. This is the moment the receiver officially becomes a new sender. They encode their own thought, they send a new message back, and the entire cycle starts all over again. This is what turns a monologue into a dialogue.
This quote from Peter Drucker just nails it, doesn't it? Real communication isn't just about talking. It's about watching for that feedback, listening to the response, and understanding the whole picture, not just the words that are being spoken out loud.
And that really brings us to the single most important takeaway from all of this. Getting good at communication isn't about learning to talk better. It's about mastering this entire loop. It's about encoding your thoughts clearly, picking the right channel, trying to minimize the noise, and maybe most importantly, paying super close attention to the feedback you get to make sure your message was actually understood.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. When you look back at this blueprint, where do things usually go wrong for you? Is it that psychological noise? Do you sometimes struggle to encode your thoughts clearly? Figuring out your own biggest barrier is the very first step to building stronger, clearer connections in every conversation you have. Thanks so much for joining me.